And turning to some tech news now, Apple has just unveiled the newest version of its iPhone. The iPhone 15 sports a new improved camera. It's lighter than the previous model, and it comes in a variety of new colors. But one of the biggest changes was prompted by regulators here in Europe. A new law requires phone manufacturers to adopt a common charging connection by the end of next year. So Apple has announced it's phasing out its Lightning port cables that it introduced in 2012, and it's now making future models compatible with the USB-C chargers used with many of other devices. And for more on the story, we can bring in Jennifer Huddleston. She's a tech policy research fellow at the Cato Institute. Thanks so much for being with us here on France 24. So there's a lot of buzz on the blogs about the iPhone 15's new colors, the new improved camera, but this change of its charging connection is really a big story. Would you consider this a win for regulators here in Europe?
You can necessarily characterize it clearly as a win. One of the interesting things we're seeing is that there's this question of should regulators be in the business of product design effectively? When it comes to charging, we've seen various innovations. We should want innovators to be the ones to make that decision about how best to charge their products. And in the future, there may actually be a bit of a backlash against this. We may actually see more of a rush to kind of completely contact-only charging instead of charging ports in general, so that companies, if that's what companies feel best works with their products.
Well, so the idea behind this EU regulation is to save consumers money, to cut waste. Do you think that this change from Apple accomplishes that?
I think that what we've continued to see is that there's a much more regulatory approach to technology, particularly when it comes to the American tech giants from European, the charger being one example of this. Rather than having the government make these decisions, we should want consumers and the market to make these decisions. We might be even missing out on various products that could simplify this in a better way than just having to comply with a specific law would require. So it's hard to know what we're going to miss out on because a government dictate says that charging must be done this way.
What about the price point of the iPhone? I have an iPhone 10. I've resisted getting an update just because, it's expensive. The 15 Pro is selling for $900. Is this new model really, really worth the investment?
We continue to see a huge range of competition in the smartphone market. So you have the people who will want the shiniest new phone the minute it comes out and will always want the Apple product. On the other end, you have a lot of different options available in the Android products. You continue to see a lot of competition amongst operating systems, amongst devices, and consumers really choosing different features that are important to them and trying to find that sweet spot of a price point that's important to them. So for some people, it may be the camera quality is what's most important to them, and they're examining different phones based on camera quality. In other cases, it may be certain cybersecurity features, or it may be, the way that they're able to watch movies on their phone and that kind of screen size or things like that. So each consumer is going to have a different calculus of what makes it worth it for them, so to speak.
But do you think this is a significant improvement over the previous model?
We're continuing to see improvements. We're continuing to see investments with each generation of new technology. I think that we're seeing that this is a competitive market, and as a result, large companies like Apple, like Google, are having to continue to invest in improving their products to meet both consumer demands as well as to stay just generally competitive in this marketplace.
Okay. Jennifer Huddleston, Tech Policy Research Fellow at the Cato Institute. Thanks so much for joining us here on France 24.
Thank you for having me.